Hi everyone, I hope you're good guy and welcome to a new video. So today we're gonna talk about the Ableton Live 11 Chorus Ensemble device, which is basically a upgraded device from Ableton Live 10 Chorus. So first I'm gonna explain you quickly what is a chorus and how it works. Then I will explain each parameter, how they relate to each other, how I like to use them, which parameter I set for what type of sound. And then after I will go through all of my personal presets and just to show you the full possibility of the device. All the presets will be available for free. I share them with you, link in description. Consider liking and subscribing before to download as well. And yeah, so here we are in Ableton. So that's the new plugin and the new interface. So basically what is a chorus? You have your signal which enter in your device and it just duplicate the signal and it will first delay the signal between them, between the original and the duplicate. So it can be copied 2 times here with the classic version, but with the ensemble version you can see it's duplicated 3 times. There is 3 copies, and so then each copy will have a different delay which gonna create this kind of phase effect. And then so this delay time, it will be modulated with LFO, which gonna create a pitch variation. So you can control the speed of the LFO and the amount of the LFO to create different kind of pitch variation. And so this pitch variation plus this phase variation create what we call a chorus, and it's basically creating a sound richer with this fading effect. It's usually very stereo as well, and it allows you to thicken the sound a little bit. So here we have the first classic. So you have 3 parameters that you will find in each mode. So I'm gonna start with the classic. So you have the rate. So here is without the chorus effect. So if I act, you see how it's moving. So basically the rate is the speed of your pitch modulation. So I will recommend like slow rate if you want something evolving very slowly, like for example for pads. And you can, so here I didn't show you, I have wavetable. It's just like a sawtooth waveform like this. You can really hear, because it's a rich waveform, so you can really hear what the effect does. No modulation. And you can go up. So by rule of thumb, what I usually do is the more I go up with the rate, usually the more I will go down with the amount, because the rate is gonna intensify the effect. So you will have something very drastic, and it's usually nice to reduce the amount so you get this drastic effect, but not in a too big proportion. So I will go, for example, until 4, so 0.4, like I say, slow modulation for pads, for example. Then you can go around 4 Hz, and that I will use for lead, for example, mono lead. And you can still get around 50%, but if you want something more subtle, you can go down a little bit at 35%. So you can hear it add movement, it adds stereo, and it's quite subtle effect now. I mean, like, other value I like to go with the rate. You can go to 8 Hz, which is kind of the vibrato value. And same here, you can go down a little bit maybe with the amount. Or you can 50% is still fine, but you can see like the might be already a bit too much for you. And if you go, it's really like a pitch modulation is too intense. I rather go between, I would say, 50% and 20%. Then after, it's really up to you. These are basically, I give you this value. It's like a good starting point, so you know more or less where to start, and then from then you can adjust to your taste, obviously, if you want something a bit more intense or no. But and then another one I will go, it's straight away at the maximum, like, and this if you play high frequency, around 25% is nice as well. This is the rate I like if you want to add a bit of character to your sound. It doesn't change that much the sound, but it got, and it really adds character. You can go a bit more, but already 30% is pretty much pronounced, and I think if you go more, it's So it can be great if you look for some weird tone, but if you want something more like musical, natural, let's say, I would recommend to stay around 30%. So these are really the 4 rate values that I will set and use. And to start with, 40 Hz if I want something slow evolving, 4 Hz if I want something like more for a lead, which is like moving already, but not too much, 8 Hz, which is more like kind of a vibrato effect, and then 15 Hz, which is like very, very intense, very fast, but just with a subtle amount to get a bit of character. Then feedback, basically what it does, it take the output, bring it back into the input. So obviously you get even a richer sound. So let me go back, for example, to 4 Hz. And you can see it at this kind of flanger effect. If you bring down the rate, if you want something more for a pad, you're gonna hear it's almost act like a flanger. You can invert the phase. Usually what is gonna happen is gonna kind of create a hollow sound. So then after you can go a bit more crazy in the value and get some more weird sound. What I like to do is with bass sound, for example, if I go at 4% to the maximum, and you bring down the amount, you get this nice moving, wobbly. You can and there's a phase, but you get the amount. So that's something maybe you can experiment with as well. Alright, and then here you see you have a high pass filter. So if you want to remove the low frequency, and you have the width as well, which is, you can basically, because of the chorus, it's like a kind of a stereo effect, which is gonna bring the stereo. You can, if you want, bring it mono, because if you want just the excitement of the chorus, you know, but you don't really want the stereo, you can bring down the width to have a mono signal. At 100%, it's like normal. Let me bring back this. And at 200%, it's kind of accentuated, double the gain of the side. So it's kind of make it even more stereo. Then that's it for the classic. So then the ensemble mode, you can see none of the parameters are changed. It's exactly the same. All what I've said stands for the ensemble one as well. But obviously you have another copy of the original signal, which has been delayed. So obviously, which means a richer sound. And everything that was true for the classic is true for the ensemble, but it's going to be obviously a bit more intense and more rich and thicker. So if you want something like very stereo modulating but kind of clean, stay with the classic. The ensemble, it will be a richer sound and a thicker sound, but you're gonna kind of lose in clarity because obviously you have an extra layer, so it's kind of getting messy, if I can say so. So that's really depend what you want. If you want something super rich, get for the ensemble one, but it's gonna be a bit messier. But if you don't really need something super rich, but you want something clean, just go with the classic. That's how I would choose one or the other. For example, if you're gonna low pass everything, I would recommend to go with the ensemble because you won't really hear this lack of clarity. And then finally, the last one is vibrato. So that's something which basically you could do on your synthesizer. For example, in wavetable, you can just go to the matrix and modulate the pitch with LFO because that's what vibrato is. So here basically, so the difference with the other is the copy of the signal are not delayed, they are just modulated by the LFO. So you get this pitch modulation. And same goes for the rate and the amount. What I said before, it's kind of applied as well here. If you go, for example, for pads, if you so you will have the pitch modulation without having the stereo effect. If you want the stereo effect, you can play with the offset. And you will get this stereo effect if I bring the rate to 4 or even 8. Basically here you get something similar to the classic because you got pitch modulation, you got your stereo. The difference is This is less richer because you don't have this phase effect because of the delayed signal. If you want a nice piece modulation stereo, go with the vibrato. But if you want something more rich with more phasing movement, go with the classic or the ensemble. So that's really what's gonna decide which mod you want. That's how I will decide. If I want something clean, I'll go with vibrato. If I want something richer with a bit more movement, I'll go with the classic. And if I want really something super rich, I will go with the ensemble one. They all have pros and cons, and it really depends what you are looking for. That's gonna decide which one to choose. Obviously I didn't mention, but with the vibrato you can just do like classic vibrato as well. And what I like, you have shape as well, which gonna make it a little bit stronger, like it's gonna be from a sine wave to a triangle. So you get something like this, and if you accelerate the rate and the amount, it's kind of sounding a bit like a 8 beats. It's kind of like a Mario. And again, you can put on stereo, but so yeah, that's pretty much it for the main parameter. Then after here you have a high pass filter. Again, if you wanna filter your low frequency, then you have your output. So this I will recommend if you go crazy with the feedback to control a little bit the output. Then you have the warmth, which is gonna add a bit of distortion and filter the sound as well. So if you crank up, you have a really stronger distortion. So that can be interesting, especially with the ensemble. But any of them, and then you have dry wet, which control the... if you don't want to go just with the delay signal. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you understood well when and how to use the classic, the ensemble, the vibrato, which rate to use, at which amount. Just gonna speed up your way. And then let me just show you a few presets I've made just to give you an idea of the potential of the device. All of these presets will really be available for free. You can download them, link in the description. Please consider like, subscribe before to download them. And let's have a listen. We have classic, so this is super cool. This is more like, the first one was more like for lead. This one I would say is more like for pads. Then you have, this is one I've shown. Like if the difference is quite that's a bit extreme. That's an ensemble crazy. You have the metal one, which is similar. This is basically playing with the feedback and the inverse phase, which is kind of creating this metallic vibe. Maybe with a square waveform you can get this, you can really get wide. Then you have this one, which is similar but more for a slow. If you want some morphing, so this I could definitely see it like to create some weird ambience. For example, if you crank up the dry wet and so you can get pretty crazy. Let me just bring back everything how it more or less was. This is more a classic way of using the ensemble. So if you want like here, you can use the warmth to really add this kind of analog vibes. Ensemble unison, so that and then so this I show you.
8 using the vibrato, like kind of 8-bit stuff.
This I show you as well, fast rate, slow amount, you see. The vibrato a little bit slower. Vibrato stereo, so you can see you have different type of vibrato, vibrato tape, which is more slower. Again, it's like 4 pads, ambience. And then you have the vibrato slow, very slow. Again, here I put 40, but you can even go. Obviously, you need a longer reverb and maybe some delay, but yeah, you get an idea of what you can get. Really nice to add character, to add movement. Works well with pads and lead, but even with key, pretty sure if you do some lo-fi stuff, it's gonna be perfect for you. And yeah, I hope you like this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you soon, guys. Bye bye.